Hi, I'm Steve with the Shoebill Studio, and this is how to play the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game. A questionably named, but genuinely lovely small box cooperative card game where you and up to 3 others use classic trick-taking strategies, just like in Hearts, Spades, or Euchre, to play through 18 self-contained scenarios that feature familiar characters, goals, and sometimes a little extra pressure. But here's the twist. You're not just playing to win tricks for yourself. You're playing to complete objectives by winning or losing tricks in specific ways, and everyone at the table has to pull it off or you all lose. To use this video efficiently, know that this game offers different setups for different player counts. There are 3 variants you should be aware of based on your group's needs. The standard 3 to 4 player variant, the 2-player variant that requires the use of a player-controlled card pyramid, think Seven Wonders Duel, and then finally, there's the solo 1-player mode, which has the player managing 4 small hands simultaneously, meeting out a single card at the conclusion of each trick. It gives real solitaire on crack vibes, but in a really good way. Since all 3 variants are built off the same ideas and general rule structures, if you know how to play one variant, you'll have a very good sense of how to play any of them. So I'd recommend sticking around to learn the standard 3 to 4 player variant if you don't know it already, before skipping ahead, as I'll only be covering changes between variants and won't be reteaching the entirety of the game for each different player count. Okay, let's move on to the setup. To begin, find the Chapter 1 card, flip the card over to reveal the chapter's character pool and victory conditions. Required characters have an asterisk by their name and must be chosen during the character draft phase that we'll get into in a second. Next, shuffle the deck of suited cards thoroughly and burn the top card face up off to the side of the play area. This card is known as the lost card. It adds a bit of complication and a dash of perfect information to your scenario, and often interacts with characters and mechanics that may be present depending on your team comp and the scenario you're currently attempting. Now deal the cards according to how many players are in the game. We'll start with the 3 to 4 player variant, which requires 9 cards per player at a 4 count and 12 at a 3 count. Once the cards have been dealt, players look at their hands, and whoever has the 1 of rings identifies themselves as Frodo. Make sure you've got the correct side of the Frodo card, as there's a 3-player side and a 4-player side. Once you've taken the Frodo character from the character pool, thus begins the character draft previously mentioned. The player to the left of Frodo now selects their character based on what's in their hand and which character they think will be best served by it. The draft then continues around the table in a clockwise direction until all players have selected a character. You have a strong hand? Well, maybe pick Bilbo, because he has to win at least 3 tricks by the end of the round. Sounds easy. Good luck. You have a weak hand? Consider Pippin, who needs to tie 4 or have the fewest tricks won. Sounds easy. Good luck. This character draft is important, so take a moment to choose wisely. Remember, the required characters don't have to be chosen first, but they must be chosen by the end of the draft to engage the next scenario at all. Upon the completion of the character draft, players will execute their actions, which are denoted by the hammer icon on their character card. Actions take place in the same order as the character draft did, starting again with the player left of Frodo. Characters can have different actions that may change throughout your playthrough, so read these carefully. In fact, let's define the first and most common action you'll come across: exchange. Exchange is when one character passes a card face down to another active character, and the receiving character then passes a different card back. Easy, right? Some actions have multiple steps, and my interpretation is that we should do them in the order written. Just like the good folks at Tolarian Community College say, reading the card explains the card. When you're in doubt about the particulars of a card's text, consider a literal interpretation and read it out loud, executing the card's instruction in the written order. Congratulations on completing the setup. Now you can start playing the game. But maybe you need some more information, just to be safe. So let's unpack this whole trick-taking system by defining a few things. 1, each deal of the deck is called a round. 2, rounds are played as series of tricks. 3, Tricks consist of each player playing a single card. The first player to play a card into a trick is called the lead player, and each player, starting with the one to the left of the lead, attempts to play a card into the trick while doing what's called following suit. Following suit is playing a card of the same suit that matches the one the lead player led with. It is required. You must always follow suit if you can. If you cannot, meaning you have none of the led suit in your hand, then and only then may you play an off-suited card from your hand into the trick. There is only one exception to this rule, and it is the one of rings, or the one ring if we're trying to match canon. We'll deal with this exception in just a moment, but for now, remember that each round plays out as a series of tricks. A player leads, everyone follows the suit if they can, and then the high card of the led suit wins. The winner collects the trick and then becomes the lead player for the next trick. You'll repeat this process until players exhaust their starting hands or until victory is achieved when all players have completed their character's objectives. Standard stuff until we take a closer look at the ring suit. Unlike most traditional trick-taking games, this game has no trump or power suit. There is no suit that automatically wins tricks over other suits just because it's trump. However, there is a trump card, and that card is the one of rings. The one ring, whatever, this card. But even the one ring is not always a trump card. If you play it and want to win the trick, you can effectively activate its trump status by just saying so. But there's an additional layer of strategery afoot with this one ring, in that you can also just play it normally, triggering no trump effect whatsoever. But the ring suit oddities don't stop there. For instance, rings are rarer than other suits. There are only 5 ring cards in the entire deck. Each other suit contributes 8 of its kind. Additionally, you can't lead with rings until they've been broken, meaning someone's played a ring card because they couldn't follow suit and chose to play a ring instead, or the lead player had nothing but rings in their hand, forcing them to lead with a ring. Once the ring suit has been broken, use the ring token to signify this change in the game by flipping it to its colored side. Now any player can lead with rings. With the fundamentals of trick-taking and the nuances of the ring suit and its one ring under our belts, let's turn our gaze toward our character goals once more. When you finish a goal in the current round, mark it with a star token. If everyone finishes, you win the chapter and move on to the next. But if anyone fails, then everyone fails, and you start the round again, hopefully with some fresh insight into what went wrong and a renewed sense of urgency to explore and push your understanding of how to manipulate tricks, manage lead player positioning, and complete character objectives. As you find yourself getting further and further from the Shire, coming up against more difficult scenarios, you may be tempted to engage in what hobbits call table talk. The official rules state that players are only allowed to discuss information visible to all players, but table talk is the variable difficulty lever that is most easily accessible to players, especially when we're all learning. So feel free to experiment with your own house rules of what you find to be enjoyable. Once you've attained Grandmaster level trick-takery, consider indulging in a few silent scenarios, or maybe test your mettle right out the gate and only allow your group to speak if they roleplay. There's a lot of fun to be had here, okay? Additionally, new chapters add new mechanics in the form of new characters, threats, gifts, and events that change the rules. So gather your fellowship, shuffle the deck, and see how far you can get before the shadows fall. Okay, let's dive into the 2-player variant now. Setup's pretty similar to the 3-player version of the game, but let's quickly recap. To begin, find the chapter card, flip the card over, and reveal the chapter's character pool and victory conditions. Next, shuffle the deck of suited cards thoroughly and burn the lost card. This is where things get different. Deal 12 cards to 3 hands. The 3rd hand will be used to build a card pyramid that will have a character assigned to it and act as a 3rd player in the round. While dealing, you'll need to construct the pyramid as follows. 1 row of 3 cards, face up, face down, face up. Then slightly overlapping this row, you'll place a row of 4 cards, all face down. Overlapping this row, you'll finally add the last row of 5 cards, all face up. The overlapping aspect of this pyramid is crucial because it signifies which cards are playable and which are not. As cards are played, you'll uncover the hidden cards in rows 2 and 3, allowing you to flip them over at the end of a trick, granting you access to play them in the following tricks. Well, you may be wondering who exactly is playing this pyramid, and that's a great question. The player dealt the one of rings controls the pyramid. Now that everyone has been dealt their hand and the pyramid is constructed, let's begin the character drafting phase. Whoever has the one ring selects Frodo, just like in the standard version of the game, and then the draft continues around the group clockwise. Remember that required characters don't have to be chosen first, but each must be chosen by the end of the draft to engage the next scenario at all. When it comes time to select a character for the pyramid, the player controlling Frodo does so. Sometimes the pyramid itself will be assigned Frodo. This occurs when the one of rings has been dealt to the pyramid. Be careful here. Just because you can't see the one of rings doesn't mean it's not amongst its hidden cards. If you or the other member of your play session doesn't have the one ring in hand, well, that means it's somewhere in the pyramid, visible or not. When this occurs, the pyramid is assigned Frodo, and the player to its right controls it. The character draft then proceeds around the table clockwise, starting from the pyramid. Upon the draft's completion, you'll begin the action phase, which plays out almost identically to the standard 3 to 4 player version of the game, with just a few pyramid-related caveats. These differences have to do with adding cards to the pyramid at the beginning of a round, or executing the exchange action. When adding cards, simply add them face up to the bottom row, being sure not to overlap any other cards. Additionally, when initiating or receiving an exchange, the pyramid only has access to their available cards, meaning cards that are face up and are not currently overlapped by any other cards. For all intents and purposes, the pyramid will act as a regular player would, leading tricks, following suits, all in alignment with the standard rules of the game, with the single added complication of having to operate within the bounds of what cards are available based on the overlapping card pyramid we detailed a moment ago. But that's it! Setup is now complete, and you can start the round. Victory is achieved in the same way as the standard version of the game when all characters have completed their objectives. Okay, that's everything for the 2-player variant. Now let's talk about solo mode, which is my favorite way to play this game. Setup starts the same as it ever does. To begin, find the chapter card, flip the card over to reveal the chapter's character pool and victory conditions, and here's where things get different. You'll need to search the deck for the one of rings and set it off to the side. Now shuffle the deck thoroughly and burn the lost card. Now, deal 3 face-up hands of 4 cards and 1 face-up hand of 3 cards. Add the one of rings to the hand with 3 cards. The remaining cards are the draw deck. The hand with the one of rings is assigned Frodo, and the character draft begins with the hand to Frodo's left. Remember, and say it with me this time, the required characters don't have to be chosen first, but they must be chosen by the end of the draft to engage the next scenario at all. Once each hand has been assigned a character, begin the action phase, starting with the character to the left of Frodo. Solo mode's singular change to the action phase is that you may only use a single character's exchange action per round. That means if you have 2 or more characters with the exchange action, you'll need to think long and hard about which one will serve the team best. And with that, solo mode setup is complete. Playing through the rounds in solo mode will have you playing cards from each of the 4 hands you're managing in alignment with the standard rules of the game. The major difference here is that after each trick is complete, you'll mete out a single card to each hand before the next trick commences. The draw deck will run dry before the end of the round, but don't worry about that, just keep playing tricks as usual. Victory is achieved in the same way as the standard version of the game, when all characters have completed their objectives. And that's it! Now you know how to play the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game in all 3 of its variants. If this how to play was helpful, hit that like button for me and consider subscribing to the channel for more gaming content. I do reviews, buyer's guides, video essays, how to play videos like this one every week. And if you played this game already, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, especially which variant you're enjoying most. So again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time here at the Shoebill Studio. Cheers.